In the beginning, there was only light, soft pause. Heaven did not know shadows. It breathed with purity, order, and music, a vast ocean of praise rolling and returning, like tides upon a shore of crystal. And there, near the blazing throne, where lightning is language and holiness is the air itself, stood one whom many watched in awe. Lucifer, perfect in form, faultless in splendor. Ezekiel 28 says he was covered in precious stones: sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald, carbuncle. Each gem caught the glory and threw it back in colors mortal eyes could never endure. He was the anointed cherub who covers, the guardian of holy things, the keeper of nearness. His station was not merely honor, it was proximity. The nearer a being stood to the throne, the more the throne's radiance marked him. And Lucifer bore that mark like a crown of living fire. When he sang, the corridors of heaven seemed to widen. His voice moved like a choir carried on the wind. Angels would pause and listen, not to worship him, but because through him the music of God seemed to echo with unusual clarity. Gentle breath. But splendor can be a weight, and weight, if not yielded, becomes a burden. And a burden, if not laid at God's feet, becomes an altar built to the self. Isaiah 14 uncovers thoughts that grew where they never should. I will ascend, I will exalt my throne, I will sit on the mount of assembly, I will make myself like the Most High. These were not words said aloud in the beginning. They were drifts, a slow current beneath a calm surface. Lucifer began to look at the throne, not as a fountain from which he drank, but as a summit he might claim. He whose beauty was a mirror became obsessed with the one reflected, and mirrors, when worshipped, become prisons. Still heaven sang. Still seraphim covered their faces and cried, "Holy, holy, holy." Yet a fracture, thin as a hairline crack in glass, ran through the heart of one made to guard glory. How does pride grow in a place so pure? It grows wherever gratitude fades. It grows wherever gifts are kept and the giver is forgotten. Lucifer learned the language of comparison, a tongue foreign to heaven's peace. He counted, he weighed, he measured himself not by God, but against others. And in counting, he lost the calculus of worship. Ezekiel speaks again. Your heart became proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. What he would not surrender began to conquer him. And in the hush before the storm, heaven held its breath. Rebellion rarely erupts in a single scream. It germinates. It learns to whisper before it dares to shout. Lucifer's inner vows, "I will ascend, I will exalt," began to shape his gaze. Things once received as mercy felt like rights long overdue. Proximity to the throne felt no longer like grace, but like entitlement. He gathered sympathy, the way embers gather dry leaves, carefully, quietly, purposefully. A question here, a hesitation there, a suggestion wrapped in admiration. Could there not be another way? Jude 1:6 will later say that some angels did not keep their own domain, but abandoned their proper abode. Before they abandoned it with their feet, they abandoned it with their hearts. Pride taught him to curate reality. He magnified perceived slights, minimized endless kindnesses, and read holiness as control rather than compassion. The seed that had sprouted in one heart began to scatter into many. There is a logic to pride. It always insists that authority is oppressive and autonomy is salvation. It reads the Father's law as a ceiling to break rather than a sky under which to flourish. Whispers grew into arguments. Arguments braided themselves into a narrative, and a narrative, once believed, becomes a world. Revelation 12 lifts the curtain. A third of the stars, a third of the angels followed him. Not because heaven was unjust, but because pride is persuasive when it promises thrones. Michael, heaven's prince, watched, not with paranoia, but with fidelity. For loyalty does not pace, it prays. Loyalty does not panic, it waits for the word of the king. Then came the decree. The moment narrative met truth, and heaven's silence snapped. Revelation 12:7, and there was war in heaven. Not metaphor, not myth, war. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, wings like banners, swords like thunderbolts, like contending with light, not because light warred with itself, but because stolen light had chosen darkness. Imagine the tremor of that hour. The sanctuaries where praise rolled like rivers now rang with battle cries. Yet even war in heaven moves under order. There was no frenzy, only purpose. Michael's blade burned with borrowed fire, not his own power, but delegated authority. He did not fight to win a fragile throne. He fought because the throne is unassailable, and rebellion cannot live in a place where God is all in all. Lucifer roared, and the roar carried back the emptiness within him, the echo of a self unmade by the pride it embraced. He threw accusations as weapons, tyranny, control, fear. But truth cuts arguments thinner than any sword. Strike upon strike, the loyal host pressed the rebels back. Glory, the very thing Lucifer craved, became the fire that consumed his advance. For glory cannot be stolen. It can only be reflected, or it burns. And then, Luke 10:18 becomes sight. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. A flash, a tear in the brightness. The downward arc of a glory that refused to bow. The dragon was cast out, that ancient serpent called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Revelation 12:9. Heaven exhaled. The throne did not move, not a finger's width, not a breath. Rebellion did not shake God, it revealed him. The fall was not a graceful descent. It was a judgment, a sentence carried on a streak of fire. The Prince of Mirrors struck the world of dust and breath, our world, and began to weave the old narrative anew. Genesis 3 will show his craft. He does not begin by denying God, he begins by distorting him. Did God really say, suspicion as sacrament, doubt as devotion, autonomy as salvation? From Eden forward, the serpent's tail slithered through centuries. Idols were carved, not just in wood and stone, but in hearts and ambitions. Nations rose and fell to the drum of self-exaltation. Prophets cried out, kings stumbled, widows prayed, and shepherds sang in the night while powers schemed in palaces. Yet not all the fallen are free. Peter 2:4 says God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into gloomy dungeons, bound until judgment. Some work in chains we cannot see. Others roam, raging because their time is short. Revelation 12:12. Ephesians 6:12 unmasks the theater. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, authorities, the powers of this dark world, and the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This is why argument alone cannot save us, and anger alone cannot win. But a light entered the story no darkness could comprehend. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. In deserts, the tempter tried him and failed. On a cross, the accuser roared and lost. At a tomb, the dragon waited and found it empty. Colossians says he disarmed the rulers and authorities and made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. The serpent's teeth broke on the heel that crushed his head. So the battle still rages, but its ending is not in doubt. Armor is given, Ephesians 6:13-17. Truth for the waist, righteousness for the chest, peace for the feet, faith for a shield, salvation for a helmet, the word of God for a sword, and prayer as the breath that keeps it all alive. Stand, not in terror but in trust, not to earn victory, but to wear it. Hell is not the devil's kingdom, it is his sentence. It is not a throne room he rules, it is a prison where he suffers. Revelation 20:10 writes the end with a steady hand. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. No appeal, no parole, no crown. The rebellion that began in glory will end in shame before the same throne it tried to overthrow. The deceiver will face unbending truth. The accuser will stand where there is no lie left to speak. And creation, bruised but redeemed, will breathe again without fear. Every exile called home, every tear accounted for, every knee bowed, not by coercion, but by the undeniable splendor of the Lamb who was slain and lives forevermore. The fallen angels who followed a borrowed light into everlasting night will meet the judgment they chose. Justice will not tremble. Mercy will not be mocked. Holiness will not apologize for being holy. For those who belong to Christ, the end is not dread but deliverance. The last word over history will not be war, but worthy. Not ruin, but resurrection. Not Lucifer, but Lord. So stand. Stand in the armor given. Stand in a grace that does not fracture. Stand with eyes on the Lamb and hands open to the wounded. Stand until the trumpet. Stand until the sky splits with joy. Because from heaven to hell, the arc of Lucifer's fall has always bent toward one unshaken center, the throne of God and of the Lamb. And that throne will never move. Long, reverent pause.